Alright, so before we go and start coding, I'm just gonna bring everyone up to speed that might be new to the channel. Is we started this e-commerce website. It started with us developing the front end, making it nice and responsive, and it's for a fictitious company that sell bags. So we used React, and we pretty much followed the standard practices. We used Material UI, and I showed a lot of cool tips and tricks. If you guys want to check that out, then just go ahead. I'll post a link in the description. So then when we finished the front end, and now we are moving on to the back end. So we started adding the back end admin dashboard, and as you can see, it's pretty neat and clean, very modern. And the idea is now that we can create the backend so that the front end can pull stuff from it and we are not using any static data. So last time we finished off with creating the UI part, and then now we're gonna move on to the Node.js part, and that's where the meat is, and create the API connected to MongoDB, AWS, and we're gonna put the whole thing together. So it's gonna be in parts because it's gonna be just way too long and just gives me time to think about the project. So now we're gonna move on to the node part. I'll see you there. Alright, so now that we have created the UI part of the backend, the admin portion, we're gonna go ahead and take care of the actual core component, which is the Node.js. So, or basically our API. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts. So we have MongoDB. We're going to have S3 for storing the images, and then the MongoDB will be for storing the product details and everything. So let's set that up. So I've made videos on how to create an AWS S3 bucket, but I'll go over it again. So what you do is once you create your Amazon account, then you pretty much come in here, and in the search you're going to type in S3, and you're going to go to your bucket, your S3, and then here you're gonna, for me I have these two buckets listed right here, but you're gonna let's say you're not gonna have any bucket, so you're gonna click on create bucket, and that's gonna create a bucket. And one thing you want to make sure is on your bucket, if you want to access those images, since they're just images, right? So you're going to have to go to permissions, and you're going to have to basically uncheck all the boxes, because we want to access these images so we can show them. That's number one. And so even if you do that, you still won't be able to access the images. Number two is you need to add this bucket policy, which basically says that when we, and this is just read, we're just giving a read permission. So here's our bucket name, e-commerce bags, and we're pretty much saying everything in it, and we're just saying get object. So like we're just allowing to read the images. So once you have done that, then you're pretty much done with your S3 setup. Then now the next thing you want to do is set up your MongoDB. So let's say you log in, you create your account with Google, with whatever that is. So then you're gonna come over here, and let me actually show you how it's done, because there's one thing I want to show you. So if you click on dedicated or serverless, you see at the bottom the price, that's so they're going to charge you. So what you want to do is, since we're experimenting, we're going to click on shared, and then you can choose your location, your provider, but see how it's free. So this is what we want. So once you do that, then you're going to create a cluster. Once you create a cluster, then that's going to basically bring you over here. But if it doesn't, then you're going to go pick your project, right? The bags, let's say, for us, and then you're going to go into deployment, and you're going to click on database. So that's where it's going to show you your database, kind of the admin part, you can say. So what we need is the user and the password to connect to this database. So the user is whatever you use to log in, and to get the password, what you do is under security, you're gonna come to database access, and then here is your username. That's where you're gonna use. And you're gonna click on, you can actually add a new user if you want. So if I click on add new user, I can, here's the password field, and you're gonna enter the password. Now take a copy this password, because I don't know if they show it to you again, but copy it because we're gonna then use it in the Node.js app to connect to the database. And yeah, you can do the rest of it, but I'm just gonna leave, just show you that. Generate the password, save it, and then you're gonna get out of this. The second thing you want to do is under security, you want to go to network access, and here you want to allow basically access from anywhere. So this is helpful. Let's say you work for a corporation and you want to restrict access to just your entities, so you're gonna enter that IP address range here. But since this is a shop and we want everyone to access, the products, so you're gonna come over to edit, and you're just gonna enter this to basically allow anybody to access your database. So what these two things done, then you're pretty much ready to start using these services. So now we're gonna jump into code, install some dependencies, and we're gonna take it from there. Alright, so here I have I'm pretty much using the same project, the UI part, one we did, but I've added another folder to it. Names are kind of same. That's not a very good thing, but I'm gonna minimize this. So this is the Node.js portion of it. It's pretty much blank. There's nothing in it, and as you can see, I've created the helper folders, but they're empty, so we're gonna add to them as we progress. So the first thing we do, and that's the .env file. So here's my package.json file, and what we want to do is, I think I am in the right place. Yep. Alright, so we're gonna install some dependencies that are gonna help us. Alright, so we're gonna first install the Node one, and I only want to install it in as a dev dependency. Alright, so we're gonna do that. Actually, it should be Node one. Alright, so yeah, here you go. So that's that, and now we're gonna install the, let's say, production dependency. So I'm gonna quickly type them. Cool. Alright, so I've installed, let me explain to you. So since we'll be accessing the client, the S3, so for saving and reading images, so that's what that is for. Axios, I'm sure you guys know. Core.env for reading environment variables. So MongoDB and Mongoose. Mongoose is for accessing the Mongo database. So Mongoose makes it easy to do the read write or all the CRUD operations. Multer is for uploading images, files, so it's going to make it easy. Sharp then will be used to resize the images you will see as we upload thumbnails. So I think we're done with the dependencies part, and now we're gonna come over here to .env, and in here is, so this is the best practice, is where we set up the environment variable. So I'm gonna just quickly type them and then I'll talk to you about it. Alright, so once you have gotten these, you're just gonna paste them, and I don't think so we'll be touching this file again. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and then we're gonna come over here to config, and we're gonna make a file, index.js. Alright, so we're gonna get the package, and this will be actually the package.json file. Alright, so I'm gonna say module.exports. Okay, and so let's give it the name name, so you can actually get a lot of stuff from there, the author, everything. because just another JSON file. And then version, we're gonna say package.version, like so. Alright, so API base path. Okay, and that's this one we're gonna get from the dot our end file. So this file you can actually push to your GitHub, your repo, because we're not storing anything in this one, so it's safe to share this file. Okay, so I'm gonna say options, and I'm gonna quickly type these. Alright, so basically we set up the database options, and here you see this client object, a property. That's when we create the Mongo client, then we can assign that here, which we're gonna see very shortly. So I'm gonna come over here to my app.js, and we can actually start cracking here. So what we'll do is get the config file first. So I'm gonna say .env, right, and config. So we're gonna, so that's the environment variable, so we can get a hold of it. And then I will also bring in so what we can do is we can create a function called run. Okay, and we're gonna call this function like so, and any errors that we get, then we can just log them here. So we can say console.log error, like that. Alright, so what do we do? The first thing we should do is set up the database and get a handle to it, because the rest of the app kinda will depend on it. So we can say URI is equal to, so the way you do it is you have to provide a certain string to connect to the database. So actually I should not have done that. So I can do like this: MongoDB, okay, plus SRV. And by the way, you can get this from the MongoDB website. So they actually tell you how the connection string should look like. So let me type that. Alright, so after you type, as I said, you can copy this from the website. When you create the cluster, or you can just type it in if you feel like ambitious. So now what we can do is we can say db is equal to await, and since it's a promise, so we're going to await on this. We can say mongoose.connect. That's what the mongoose is going to come help us, and we can say URI. Now I can already see it's complaining because we should be async, like that. So now if everything is successful, we should come here and we can then say db connection okay, just to make it official. Alright, so if everything is okay, let's just fire it up and see what happens. Alright, so misspelled. Alright, so so we already got an error, and why are we getting this error? So invalid scheme, expected connection string to start with MongoDB. I did not do that. MongoDB plus SRV. I need a colon here. Save it. Oh wow, beautiful. So there you go. So now we're connected to the database, and then at this point what you can do is, remember we created that client thingy, so I can then come here, I can say database.client DB. So now we can pass this over to the app and everyone can use it and everybody will be happy. Yay. Alright, so now we should start listening for some for some clients. So I can say, whoa, okay, so before I do that, all right, so I have the start.js file, and what we can do is we can come over here and put some stuff. Then the other thing we can do is routes. So I can say app.use config.ap. So that's our API base path. That's the path, the base path. And then we need a route handler. Now you must be asking, well, where's the route handler? So we need to create that. So if I come to routes, and I'm gonna come here, and we can say index.js, and this is where we can configure our routes. So we need to bring an express, and let's set up the first route, which is the get. So let's say somebody hits the very base path, so we can say let's just welcome them, and this will be a way for us to test if the API is actually working. So rest.send, we can say code of 0, and we'll just say message of welcome to bags API. Alright, so if this works, then we can continue with the rest of the routes. Right, and at the end, don't forget to return the router. Right, so I'm going to go back to start.js, and then here is where we can bring in the route handler. So I can say here const route handler is equal to require routes, like that. Okay, and finally what I can do is I can app.use for any errors. If you want, you can do that, any 404 errors, but you know what, I'm just going to leave it. What I will do here instead is return app. Then I'm going to go back to my app.js, and what we can do here is I can say const app is equal to app and config. So now you must be asking, what is app? App is actually that start.js that we did. Require start. Okay, and after this, now we can say app.listen. Okay, and we're going to listen on port 3000, right? And then what we should do, we should say console.log listening on 3000. Okay, so let's see, there you go. So it's listening. So now we're going to fire up Postman and see if we can do the first API call. And I'm going to paste it here, and let's see what happens. Okay, so cannot get okay, do I have this? Is that the reason? There you go. So we are getting, one thing I will change here is React also uses the port 3000, and we're also using 3000, so maybe it's gonna, they're not gonna like each other. So what I can do is I can change this to 30,000. I'm gonna save it, and I need to do this. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to my API, and here I can do 30,000, and let's shoot another request. Cool, so this is working. Alright, so now that we have the base structure kind of set up, then we can go ahead and set up the routes for products and everything. So let's start off by creating the schema first, so that we can define how the product will look like. So I'm going to come to my schemas, and then we're going to create an index.js file. So I'll say import mongoose first, and we'll say require mongoose like that, and then what we will do is we will say const schema is equal to mongoose. Okay, so the first will be the product schema. Product schema is equal to new schema. So it's nothing but just an object. So every product will have a couple of properties, so like name, description, price, SKU, quantity. So I'm gonna quickly write these down. Alright, so as you can see, the product, I have the name, description, blah blah blah. Alright, so as you can see, when you have a property, you're gonna have to tell it the schema basically what type it is. So some are strings, some are numbers. You can have different kind. And now we can add one for settings, and we're gonna export this. Alright, so I defined also one for the settings. So if you guys remember from when we did the front end with the banner tags, the banner image, and also we were running some promotions, so we basically can have an array, and that's that. So now with that done, then you're gonna go over to your MongoDB, the database. Alright, so you're gonna come over here, and then we're gonna go to browse collections. So there's nothing here. It should, there you go. So you can load it, or I'm just gonna say add my own data. So for the database name, and then the first collection I'm gonna do is product. I'm gonna say create. So there you go. So I have bagsdb, and then that's my product collection, and currently it's empty. So we're gonna start adding stuff to it. So remember, we created a schema, and that's gonna come helpful now. Alright, so I'm gonna go back over to my routes, and then we're gonna create a product.js route by saying module.exports equal to config, and we can do the router express.router. Now we don't have express, so we should bring that in. Alright, so I brought in the router, I brought in the DB, that's the client we created, and now what you need to do is create a model. So what we can do is db.model. Alright, and then you want to give it your collection name, and then we can do schema.product, schemas.product. So we'll say that's the schema it should follow, and I think I don't need this one. Okay, with that done, so how about we do like this, we can do router.get. so let's the base path for the products, and we can do request response, and let's just do res.send products. Okay, that, and then in the end we should do return router. Now of course it's not going to work because we need to use it here. So we can do router.use. So anything that's with the endpoint of product, we're going to send it to the product endpoint. So basically what it's saying is anything that has the product with the base path, it has the product endpoint, then it's going to be forwarded to the product endpoint right here, and then we can take care of it. So let's try, if we come here and I do product send products. Okay, perfect. So we are hitting our endpoint, which means we can now continue adding more stuff to the product. So I'm going to leave this here. Alright, so the first thing we do is we're going to try to create a product. Alright, so I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna say router.create, post. It's gonna be a post request, and it's gonna come with the endpoint of create, and we are basically gonna do request response like so. Alright, so what we can do is we can basically just start simple, and we can say new product is equal to, and we can say product dot create, right? So remember the product that's right here, so we can call a create function. Now this is a promise, so we need to await on this, which means this we need to do async, okay, like so. All right, and what we can do is basically spread the product that we get. So I must be thinking, well, what is product? So it is const product is equal to request dot body dot product, right? It's gonna be like that. Where did I put the async? Oh, wrong. It should be here. Okay, there you go. So once that is done, then all we need to do is res.send, and how about we do code of 0, means everything is okay, and data will be new product. Okay, and let's also just shoot a message back saying product added. Okay, and let's do this. Let's put everything in a try catch so that we can catch any errors. Okay, so I'm gonna take all of this and I'm gonna move that in here, and then in the catch, what I can do is I'm gonna console log it. Okay, and then I'll also do res.status. Let's just do a 500, and we can say send the code of 1, and we can say failed add product. That's when there's some kind of an error. So alright, so now what we can do is, so let's also come here and console log product. I want to see what we're passing. Okay, so actually it should be just the body. Alright, so I'm gonna come here now and let's create a post request. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to body, and we're gonna do raw, and we're gonna select JSON, and let's see if we can create our first product. Okay, so let's see if I post, I'm going to product, and let's see what happens. I cannot post to bags API v1 product. Okay, let's see why. So router.post is create. Oh, okay, so we need to do create. So you can do new, create, doesn't matter. That is amazing. We are able to create our first bag. So that's the response we got a code of 0. Let's go to MongoDB and let's do a refresh, and let's see if we got our product. There you go. So it actually creates the collection for you. I think you don't need to create it, so I can just delete this one. It will, that's amazing. It will create it for you if it doesn't exist. So now if I go to products, as you can see, I got my first bag. So let's create second bag. This is so much fun, and I'm gonna, let's say it's cheaper, and we can say this is our second bag, and let's just make the quantity 10, and let's send it. Beautiful, second bag. I'm gonna open my MongoDB, do a refresh. First bag, second bag, that's amazing. Alright, I'm liking this. So we're just gonna continue building on this, and we're gonna add the functionality now to upload a photo, and then also show the photo, upload the photo to Amazon and create a thumbnail. So I will catch you in the next section. Alright, so now that we saw how we can add a product, we're gonna now move on to see how we can upload an image for a product. So you're gonna come over here to your post request. This is where we create the image, and we're gonna do upload dot single. we're going to upload a single image, and it's going to come in this image, you can say container. So now you must be asking, well, what is upload? So upload is, if you guys remember, we installed the Multer package. So we're going to use that now. So I can do something like upload is equal to Multer, right? And then what you want to do here is you want to define a storage. So we need to define a storage first. So for that, you're going to come here and you're going to do const storage is equal to multer.disk storage. Alright, so you're going to specify a destination where the thing is going to go. So we're going to have a function and a callback, and then we're going to do const upload dir is equal to process.env, and then we can say if not fs. So what is fs? Well, that's Node's file system thingy module. So we can say require fs. Alright, and then I can come here and I can say fs.exist sync upload dir. If it doesn't exist, basically what we are saying is you go ahead and make it. So that's it. And then finally we're gonna do our callback, and we're gonna do null, and you're gonna supply the upload dir. Alright, so that's our storage. So I can come here and then I can say storage. For storage, basically we're saying use that storage. There's also another storage, it's memory storage. You can also use that in case you want to save something in memory and recall it. Alright, and then let's set some limits. Alright, so for example, we don't want to upload huge file sizes. So we're going to just stick to 5 megabytes. And the way you do is 5 times the... One thing you could do is make this also a something like a settings, so you can change it. Alright, so then we're going to also add a file filter. Okay, and then follow this callback function. And so, oops, let me do this. So for the file filter, we want to make sure that it's an image. You can restrict it to Word, PDF, whatever your thing is. And then I'll say MIME type dot starts with image. All the images start with this, the MIME type. Then we do our callback, and basically we're saying everything is good. Okay, otherwise what you do is we're gonna call back and throw in an error. So we're gonna have a check on our front end as well for uploading images, but this is just in case you want double protection. So we can say only allowed. Alright, so with that done, so this will take care of our upload images stuff. And then what we can do is we can come over here, and now the way we're going to upload these images is, before we were just uploading the product, right? So it was just a JSON object. Now we are uploading the image, and people could upload the image separately, or they could upload it with the file, with the product data. So we need to account for all situations. And the way we're going to do this is on the React side, when we code it, we're going to use something called form data, and that's how it's going to do it. So we need to change this a bit. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to say here now json.parse, okay, and we're going to do product. We're going to pass it like that. That's one change. And then the other thing we want to do is, I'm going to get rid of this for now, is we need to make sure that a file has come through, right? So what Multer will do is it's going to add this file to a request object. So you can check for that here. So if there's a file, means we have an image. So we can then do file path is equal to req.file.path. Okay, we're gonna get that, and now we're gonna use that sharp library npm package to do some stuff on it. So how do we do it? Well, it's a promise, so we're gonna do await, and we're gonna do sharp. So I think it brought in sharp right here. Yep. Alright, so let's say tell it where the file is. You can say file path. Then we're gonna rotate it. So this is just in case somebody took a picture that was rotated, and then you wanna change it to a buffer. Okay, and then once that is done, then you wanna take that buffer. Alright, and what we do is we say return, and then basically save. Actually, I'm gonna add save to S3. Alright, so how would that work? Well, let's first catch any errors, and what we can do for now, just console log error. Alright, so this will take care of uploading the image, but we also want to upload a thumbnail. Okay, so I can do thumbnail like so, and pretty much it's the same as the one we did for the above, but just one difference. Let me type it out. Alright, so here's the thumbnail. The only difference is we're just going to resize it to a 200 by 200 pixel. You can of course do anything you want. And by the way, this resize, this rotate is based on the orientation metadata. I think every image carries that, so that's how it is. And now over here, what we can do is we need to save the, if you remember when we did the schema, we have a photo and a thumb, so now we can use that. And the way we're gonna do this is we will just say photo, okay, if req.file means if there was something uploaded, then we can do file.file name. Okay, otherwise just blank. And then same for the thumb, we can do the same. Alright, so this will now basically add the photo and the thumb, so that's pretty good. So now one thing we need to then take care of is, well, what's the file name, right? Because we haven't specified anything yet. So this is where we can do that with the storage. And right after this one, we're gonna specify, you can specify all these functions. If you go on the npm page, you will see them. So I can say file name function, it's a function, request file callback. Okay, and I just stick to date basically and timestamp. They will be always unique. So what you do is you take the original name. Okay, so that's file.original name that comes from Multer, and then what you can do is get the extension, and we can say original name dot split by that, and we just pop the end of it. That will be the extension. And then finally we can just do callback, nothing basically, date.now, okay, and that extension. Whoa, you will see how this is gonna look like, but it's gonna be like just gonna be, you know, bunch of numbers. So this is all done. So the only thing now left is right here. How do we do this? So let's take care of this. So if you can see, we have this S3 helper, and currently there's nothing in it, so let's make use of it. Alright, so the way we're gonna do this is first we create a client. So I can say S3 client is equal to new S3 client. Okay, and it did not bring it, so we're gonna bring it. So const S3 client equal to require, and we can say at AWS client S3 beauty, All right, and we need some credentials. So credentials, TIALS. So you have to follow this kind of object structure. Okay, so you want to give it an access key ID, and if you guys remember, we already set that up. Access key ID, and then we need the secret access key, process.end.secret access key. There you go. Alright, so now we need to bring in a couple of commands that we will be using, and I'm gonna throw those here. So the way I like to do this is I just like to put them in an object and just export the whole thing out. So I can do cons S3 commands is equal to. You can just call it from anywhere in the project actually. Alright, so let's do add object. Okay, and to add an object in S3 you need a key, and you need of course the buffer what you're trying to add, and then we're going to do put command. So just like our wrapper around the S3 or AWS wrapper actual command, and then I'm going to call put object command. Okay, and we do, so you need to give it a bucket name dot bucket. I think we call it bucket name. Should have just called bucket. Anyways, and then the key. All right, so you want to give it a key. I think it's caps key. So we want to store in this bucket something. And what do you want to store? Well, you just give it a body. It's going to be the buffer. Alright, so this is going to help us add the object. So what we can do now is module.exports is equal to S3 commands. Cool. So now we can use it. I think I'm going to go ahead and add the others also, so that we can just be done with it. So the other one we need is delete object. Alright, now that we're done with the delete one, one thing we forgot to do is, which is the main thing, is we need to send this command off to the AWS, or basically we need to execute it. So the way you do this, you just do return S3 client dot send. Okay, and then we do put command, and then we're gonna do the same here for the delete. I can do delete command. I think you just have to do it for these two. Okay, so one thing I see the mistake is this should be capital S3 client, like so, and this should be S3 client. The reason is when I hover my mouse it didn't, yeah, there you go. So now it's showing me the syntax and all. Cool. Alright, so with this done, now you can go back to here and we can take care of this. So all you have to do is we need to do return S3 commands. Okay, there you go. You can say now add object. So what object? It's going to be dot file name. And what are we trying to save? Well, the buffer. See how easy it is once you have everything in place. And then we're going to do the same here. What do you say? Alright, so there's definitely an error somewhere. Where is it? You guys see it? There's a red line here. Anyways, let me save it, and then we're going to look at the console. Alright, unexpected token if. product.js line number 22. Product.js line number 20. Okay, here we go. So yes, this should be this. Cool. As you can see, now it's running, DB connection, everything is okay. So now we need to take this on a test drive. So I'm gonna log on to my AWS. Alright, so here I am in my AWS. As you can see, I'm in my bucket, the ecom bags, and currently it's completely empty. So let me just do a refresh. It's empty. So now we're gonna go ahead and try to add stuff to it. So I'm going to also log on to MongoDB. Alright, so if you guys remember, this is what we added these two items last time. So now we're going to add a third bag, and we're going to also upload an image. So let's see how we can do this with Postman. I think one thing I should do is maybe add a GET request and let the GET return all the products. Yeah, so let's do that. So I'm gonna come here, and what we can do is you can say try. Let's do a catch. What we can do, we can say const products is equal to await product dot find. So this is how you can do in MongoDB. If you enter the empty curly brace, it's gonna give everything. We need to add the async, and let's just do res dot send code 0, and then we can do products, let's call it data products. Okay, so this is just for us to quickly see if we can get the products, right? So I'm going to get rid of this, and we need to change this to a get. Let's do send, and there you go. So we are getting our products, so that means we're connected to the database and all. So now we're going to go ahead to create. I'm going to do post. Alright, so how do we upload images and everything? So if I go to body, and if I do to form data, then what you can do is file. I'm going to select the file. So I'm going to select this, let's say this bag. I'll say open, and remember we said images when we did the storage thingy right here. Image. Okay, so it's called image. I'm going to call it image, and then we need to also give it the product. If you guys remember, we did here product, so that's how we're going to pass the product. And basically all I'm going to do, copy this and see, and it's going to be text, and let's paste this here. Actually, let me just type this somewhere else, and I'll bring it back here. Alright, so I basically just did it in Notepad. It was easier. I'm gonna get rid of all this, and all I did is I just said this third bag, this is our third bag with photo. So hopefully this will work. So the idea is if I send it, let's see what happens. And there's an error. So what happened? Quantity, I think there's some problem with our unexpected token in JSON or JSON at position 6. Oh, so I think, do we need to put this in the braces? Let's see, curly braces. Right, let's try this again. Okay, I got error again. What's going on? Region is missing. Oh, okay, so it looks like so this is coming from, when I see region, I'm thinking this is the AWS. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what kind of maybe simple or big mistake we made. So helper, I have process.env. Here we go. S3 client. Oh yes, we need to we need to define the region. Alright, so I'm going to save it, and I'm going to restart. Okay, so let's fire it again. Oh, 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 it actually worked. Take a look. So here's the image name. Here's the thumbnail. Let's go and see what happened. This is so cool. All right, so I'm gonna refresh. Oh, beautiful. So our images got uploaded. I'm gonna go to my Mongo. Back to cluster. Okay, that's okay. Huh. Let's refresh. Now Mongo is acting weird. All right. We're gonna wait for this to. I don't know what happened. Everything was okay. I don't know what happened, but the good thing is that the image got uploaded. Let's click on it, and so here's the URL. So I'm gonna copy it and just paste it and see what happens. Okay, it got downloaded. Let's open it. Beautiful. So this is so nice. So now we're able to upload images. We're able to add the product data, but we're not able to see our collection. Oh, there you go. That worked. All right. So this is our. Oh, okay. It went 2 times. I don't know why, but that's what it is. This is our third bag. I think I don't need this one. I'm gonna get rid of this one. Man, this MongoDB is having some issues today. All right, so here's our third bag. This is our image, and we're getting close. We're getting close. So we're gonna be pulling and adding this, on the front end. Very exciting. So I'm gonna leave it here, and we're gonna continue with adding more functionalities.